This deal, if successfully completed, which I hope it will be, may bring peace and normalization in the broader sense in the Middle East, and I'm really hoping for that to happen. But when I look at reality, I look at Hamas. They are not signing up for anything related to peace. They're doing a ceasefire because their back is against the wall. They're in a tough place. They've run out of diplomatic support. The Qataris have turned against them. They're out of ammunition. We've killed most of their leaders. So it's a good time for them to take a ceasefire.
How do you reflect on this deal being done? It is only phase one. There's a lot of steps in that 20-point plan that need to be agreed to. Hamas has not yet disarmed. The hostages aren't yet back, Jonathan. We met 2 years ago over the airwaves and a lot has played out in between then. So how do you personally feel today? Do you feel it is, a big hurdle, or do you feel it's just the start of a long journey?
No, I think it's a positive. It's a very important positive milestone, and I temper my enthusiasm because been around the block, and I know that these things take time, and we're dealing with lifelong enemies, and it bothers me a bit that the word peace gets thrown around a lot by people who don't live here and don't really have skin in the game. Sadly, that isn't what this is about, at least not with Hamas in Gaza. This deal, if successfully completed, which I hope it will be, may bring peace and normalization in the broader sense in the Middle East, and I'm really hoping for that to happen. But when I look at reality, I look at Hamas. They are not signing up for anything related to peace. They're doing a ceasefire because their back is against the wall. They're in a tough place. They've run out of diplomatic support. The Qataris have turned against them. They're out of ammunition. We've killed most of their leaders. So it's a good time for them to take a ceasefire. It isn't more than that. And I think it's important to, calibrate our expectations accordingly.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that. I think peace is a bit of an uncomfortable word at the moment as well, especially from people like me who, you're right, don't have a direct skin in the game and are very far away from where you are.
I wasn't referring to you, Laura.
No, I know you weren't. It's okay. But I think you're right. Normalisation is a much better word. I have been, reflecting. There's got to be a lot of praise for Bibi to get to this point, to get Trump involved, to be a tough negotiator as well. I mean, I know there is a strong sentiment against him in Tel Aviv at the moment. We've seen the protests for the better part of 2 years. Some hostage families still were critical of the way he's dealt with this war along the way. I wonder, is it too early to talk about whether he's certainly been the Prime Minister to get Israel through this conflict, or the latest iteration of this conflict, but is he the right leader, or can that same leader, whoever it is, be the one to bring about normalisation and heal some of those wounds?
I think Prime Minister Netanyahu is definitely looking to be that person, and there are slated elections for November next year if this government will last its tenure, which most political commentators don't believe that it will. But the Knesset, our parliament, is in recess, and it will convene in a few weeks. And then there are a lot of hot-button topics to deal with. But I think that what the Prime Minister will seek to do is to shore up the 2 years of suffering and hardship that Israel has gone through with achievements, which may be the fruit of this agreement. Now, that's a good thing from many perspectives. One is that puts additional energy or inertia behind Israel's intention to really see this ceasefire through. And I think that's a good thing, because I think Israel has achieved a lot. And if Israel is able to actually defang Hamas and get Hamas officially out of power, and really start perhaps rebuilding, and that clause in the deal that speaks about de-radicalizing Gaza, if that starts to happen, then maybe this can really be a game changer in the Middle East that is really of strategic and historic proportions. It could also be just a ceasefire. I'll suggest that there are, if we want long-term changes here, there's one organization that I know many Australians have contributed taxpayers' money to that I think really needs to be at the heart of attention here. And if we want change in Gaza, that organization needs to go. And the people who have heard me a few times won't be surprised when I say that organization is UNRWA. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency has been poisoning the minds of people in Gaza. Instead of helping, it has been indoctrinating them with hatred. Instead of educating, it has been basically the manufacturing line for the next generation of terrorists. And if we want to de-radicalize Gaza, which I think Australians want, Israelis want, and most people want, that organization needs to go, because otherwise we'll be fighting another war with whatever abomination comes out of the ashes of Hamas in a few years. We'll be fighting the same religiously fueled battle, and there'll be a new generation of jihadis who want to die for the cause.
Well, Jonathan, for now, I've been waiting to talk to you with something about something positive ever since we met. That was 2 years ago, and I think today, finally, that moment has come, a glimmer of hope at least, and I can't wait to see those hostages return home early next week. Thanks
Hopefully
so much for your
Monday.
time. Yeah,
Hopefully
thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
And good.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It is a glimmer of hope. We can't trust Hamas more than we can throw them, but there is a glimmer of hope. Number one, because it seems very promising that the hostages are actually going to be returned this week. That seems to be pretty solid. What happens after that, in stage 2 and stage 3, and Hamas de-radicalizing, I share Jonathan Conricus's hesitations and not calling this peace, but calling it maybe normalization, a coexistence, something along those lines. Peace is something down the road. I don't think we can effectively call it that yet until we have some clout of time behind that. But nonetheless, it is a time for rejoicing that the hostages are returning. God willing, we'll have good news in the upcoming days as well, that things are progressing as they should be regarding Hamas. However, there is the other element that is also, we can be cautiously optimistic about, in that this new agreement may help facilitate the Abraham Accords expanding, and that where you have many nations in the Middle East and abroad. I think there's nations outside of the Middle East that are even talking about getting involved as well. I heard Indonesia. There's a lot of talk about the Abraham Accords expanding, and there could be normalization and economic gain, mutual business friendships and acquaintanceship that can further flow across the Middle East. That is something as well to be optimistic about. So there are a lot of glimmers of hope that come with this deal. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, and if Hamas actually goes through with it, is only time will tell. But I think there's a lot more optimism with this particular deal than there has been in the somewhat distant, I would say in a generation, at least, that there's optimism to the extent that there is. But we'll be with you along the way to keep reporting on it. And if you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.